together this video for fellow Cirrus owners. I've got a 2012 Cirrus SR22T and I'd like to do my own maintenance. I am not an A&P, I am just a private pilot. But I went to replace my battery too, and I couldn't find any good information on how to do it well. And this comes from the Cirrus Airplane Maintenance Manual 24-30, page 70 is where the procedures are written up for the maintenance manual, how to do this. But it is not real clear. So what I did is I took a couple of videos, I spliced them together here. So for those of you who want to change battery 2, I'm gonna walk through how to do that. Hopefully this helps. Step 1 is to take the access panel off, and once you get the access panel off, you can see the ELT sitting there, but battery 2 case is in the very back. It's difficult to get to. You've got a lot of cables and wires, so you just need to be real careful as you're working on this. But you can see it is tucked away there. But again, it's not hard to get out if you just take your time. But there she is. For purpose of illustration, I thought I'd show a picture of the case out of the airplane, and then I indicated the key items on the case that you're going to need to deal with. So the first thing is on the right side, the yellow circle, and I put the maintenance manual reference there below it. You will see the breather tube. There's a plastic nut that screws the hose, the breather tube actually onto that. The only caution I have there is when you're putting it back on, just be careful. It's plastic. You don't want to cross thread. You don't want to strip. So just get it nice and snug when you're putting it back on. But you'll pull that off. And then the second thing I did was the red circles, those hold the case into position. The green are just holding the case together. You do not have to take those apart when you've got that in the plane. It's impossible to do it actually. So you're going to take a 1/4-inch socket head for those center 4 bolts and take those all the way up till they're loose. I do not pull them out of position, I leave them in place. And then the very last thing you do is once that case is out, there's a Phillips head for the 4 green outside ones on one side and a lock nut on the other. Hold the Phillips head in place with a screwdriver and use a socket driver or something to pull the lock nuts off on the back side. I wanted to show this just to make sure you saw the breather hose there and how it's disconnected. So make sure you do that, and then you can go and clip the zip ties holding the wire harness. Once you've removed the 4 center bolts and the case is ready to come out, you're going to need to clip these 2 zip ties in the wire harness. Be very careful clipping them because there are other wires around them. Next step is to release the plug. So you will see there's a clasp on the top, on the back side of that plug, and you need to put your hand in there and you're going to pull the clasp up, and as you pull it up you're going to pull back. There's a nub that the clasp is locked on, but pull that up, not too far, just be pulling back at the same time, and what will happen is that will release itself and the plug will pull back out, and then you can remove the entire unit. To remove the battery tray, you're just going to push it up towards the left side of the airplane so it gets around the caps bin there, and then you'll slide it back and out of place. So push up to the left, slide back, just do it gently. Here is the removed battery case, and I've also split it up already, so the 4 outside screws and lock nuts have been removed. I've pulled the old batteries out. I actually X'd them each in the case before I pull them so I don't get them confused with the old batteries. Then you remove the negative battery cables first. They pull straight back. It's just a pressure fit type system. And then when you put the new batteries in, you connect the positive first and then you connect the negatives. Now that you've got the new batteries in, go ahead and reassemble the case. So you're going to take the 4 outside screws, put the lock nuts on, tighten them down. You don't have to tighten them down as hard as you can. You just want to make sure that the seal between the top and the bottom is snug and pressed together. So I usually put the lock nuts a little past the thread of the screw. That way it's nice and tight. slide that unit back into the airplane very carefully. And then you're essentially going to just go through and reconnect everything in the reverse order of how you pulled it out. One word of caution is when you're putting the screws or the center 4 bolts back in, I usually try to start those by hand. That way you're not cross-threading things. It would be a little difficult to do, but it's just a caution I always do. I hand start before I take my ratchet. Tighten those back down. Don't over tighten or you will strip the bolts. You just want to make sure that that case is snug down in place and doesn't wiggle back and forth and up and down. Hope you enjoyed the video. Fly safe out there, guys.